First and 10 for the Pats from the 18. Brady has Devlin to his left. The aforementioned Dorsett. 1 of 3 wides right. Brady takes the snap. He's going to lob it to the end zone right for Burkhead. On the money. Touchdown, Patriots.
Pats Radio with the call. Rex Burkhead. Why are we playing a random Rex Burkhead highlight from a couple of years ago?
I know.
He's your new member of the Houston Texans. Jake Asman filling in for Joel Blank here in the press box with Nick Sharara and Tyler producing. The Texans have signed the former Pats running back to a contract. Now, I don't know officially if it's a one-year deal. I have to imagine, though, Burkhead, who's 30, entering his 9th season, is probably not getting more than just a one-year deal that is not even fully guaranteed. But you look at this signing, and my reaction, Nick, why? Why do the Texans want to bring in yet another running back that is above the age of 30 to add on to the fact that they already had the oldest roster in the NFL, according to Warren Sharp?
Yeah.
They have now made that roster older by bringing in, get this, their 7th running back into that running back room.
So who are they? Is it David Johnson? I think Philip Lindsay's on that list. You've got Rex Burkhead now. Who else do you have on
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Dontrell Hillard.
Okay.
Buddy Powell is still on that list, or Buddy Howell. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about the state of the Texans running back room.
I don't get it either, bro.
So, explain to me why the Houston Texans needed to make this move. You know, I understand the mantra from everyone on Kirby Drive here in town is competition. We want competition. Rex Burkhead is really adding competition. Rex Burkhead and his, 274 rushing yards from a year ago is really adding a lot of competition. I mean, if this was 2016, 2017, I would suggest the Texans offense this season is all Wildcat. Ground and pound, baby. Give it to David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay, Burkhead, ground and pound, Wildcat. But now you just have so many of these running backs. And I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. The Texans continue to insist that they are not the Patriots South. The owner, Cal McNair, came out at the introductory press conference for Nick Caserio and said, we are not Patriots South. Well, everything you've done, whether it be not including the jersey numbers on your rosters for the media at a random OTA in May, the only other team that's ever done that in the last decade was New England, to signing all these expats, to bringing in, obviously, all these guys with ties to New England, adding Burkhead only continues to increase that narrative, and it's not really a narrative if it's true, this belief that the Texans continue to operate like they're the dollar store New England Patriots.
And I guess they just don't care. I know you mentioned McNair, he did address the fact that people would criticize them and call them the Patriots of the South, and he says, we do have respect for that team, but we're not them. Internally, regardless of what the outside looking in is saying or thinking, or if the fan base is saying, they might be saying to themselves internally, you know what? Yeah, maybe we are a little too obsessed with the Patriots, but you know what? Guess what the Patriots have done in the past, 5, 6, 7 seasons. So maybe they're just selling themselves on that. I don't necessarily push that narrative too much. It doesn't aggravate me as much as it used to. At the end of the day, you're talking about a guy in Nick Caserio that came from that branch. So what do you expect? Do you expect him to completely veer away from the thinking that the Patriots have? No, it's probably not going to happen. Now, if they want to continue to do that, that's fine. Rex Burkhead, 30 years old. He's kind of a multi-dimensional running back. Maybe they think they can just perhaps use him for just a few reps. You have him on. He's 30. You can't use him on as the main guy. I'm not necessarily opposed to a tandem in terms like a 2 running back situation. But this is clearly not it. This is not a 2 running back situation. I don't imagine all of them will be playing, or maybe not all of them will be on the roster. Who knows? But I'm okay with the 2 tandem running back. I just don't understand all these running backs.
I don't understand how you get reps in practice for this many running backs.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time with quarterbacks, right? Starter gets a bunch of the reps. Backup takes some snaps with the first team maybe. And then, if you're a 3rd string guy, 4th string guy, you're just a camp arm. There's not many reps for you.
Yeah.
I mean, the same applies when you're talking about 7 running backs in your room. And you're talking about guys like David Johnson and Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay. I just don't see how Burkhead fits.
I don't either.
And just continuing to increase this narrative that you're just the Patriots South, I don't think it helps you. I think there's a large portion of people in this city that are just apathetic to the franchise right now.
Sure.
And when moves like this are made, I think it just continues to perpetuate, that narrative. And you keep using the word narrative. I got to stop using it. It's not a narrative if it's true. It's not like I'm painting this picture that's false. They continue to try and operate like they are the dollar store New England Patriots. It's It's infuriating, honestly. Like, it'd be one thing if you had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You have David Culley, who has never been a head coach before. He's never even been a coordinator before. And you have a GM and Nick Caserio, who only knows the Patriot way. So with all due respect to Cal McNair, when you come out and tell us in the media, and us being the media, the conduit to your fans, that you're not the Patriots South, every move you've made has been a direct, correlation to something the Patriots were trying to do.
And that's because he's just not good with dealing with the media. They have two guys that really do bad when it comes down to addressing the media, and it's obviously the owner, Cal McNair, and Culley would be the second. I've said this multiple times.
Wait. You mean David Culley, who came out and told us that Texas has the best Tex-Mex in the country.
Yep.
It's not great with the media.
Nope.
I'm just poking fun. I actually happen to like David Culley. Seems like a nice guy. But he might be in over his head when he looks at the roster he's about to be given for his first time as a head coach.
Yeah, it's a lot to deal with if you're any coach, let alone a guy who doesn't have any proven success as a head coach in the NFL, at the NFL level. Like, it's going to be a difficult task for anybody, let alone Culley. And look, maybe he surprises me, but I'm just talking specifically about addressing the media. And Nick Caserio wouldn't have addressed it the way Cal McNair did. He wouldn't have said, you know what, although we were getting all this criticisms about us being the Patriots of the South, we're not. Nick Caserio just would have addressed whatever he felt like he needed to address. He has a more of a Belichick approach with the media. He's not as short as Bill Belichick, but he's actually very wise as to what he reveals to the media. McNair doesn't do that. That's the reason why you have that. So that's why that's hanging over his head, and that's why we're still mentioning that. When did he make that comment? That had to have been months ago.
The Texans were not the
Patriots of the South. That was months ago.
It was at Nick Caserio's introductory press conference.
Yeah,
and that was his statement. I think it was like, with respect to the Patriots, we are not New England South or Patriots South. Well, every move you have made, the hires you've made, bringing in obviously Caserio, allowing Caserio to bring in some of his scouts that have New England ties, the moves that were made. I mean, you go up and down this roster. Look how many guys either started their career in New England, played in New England at some point. You're Patriots South without Tom Brady, without Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And you know what? As much as we want to laud the New England Patriots and all the rings they've won, I'm sorry. Bill Belichick's a 500 coach to this point without Tom Brady. He went 7-9 last year. So there's still a lot for Belichick to prove.
Absolutely.
Without Brady being there. So, there's other ways to win than just trying to copy the Patriots. The Chiefs have their own way of doing things. Plenty of teams have won without having to, be jerks to the media and try and, keep things like it's a top secret operation at an OTA practice in May.
Yeah.
There's ways to run your team where you're not trying to be a dollar store knockoff version of a team that won 6 Super Bowls with, the greatest quarterback of all time. And last I checked, I'm looking at this Texans roster here. I don't see the greatest quarterback of all time on its roster.
No, it's not. They do not have the greatest quarterback of all time, and it completely makes things different. And I think you're right. Belichick does have a lot to prove. Although I didn't like Cam Newton ever. I never thought he was going to do anything, and I figured very early on that if they don't diversify their offense, Cam Newton will not be the answer, and that's what happened. So I think. To Belichick's defense, and I'm not a guy that defends the Patriots, or I don't really hate them as much as most people do. To his defense, I mean, I don't think that Cam Newton hurt him. Cam Newton hurt him. You're right. He still has to prove himself as a coach and be able to win with someone that's not a Tom Brady. I agree, but to his defense, I mean, Cam Newton, I'm not really high on that guy at all. And you know what? Maybe that's why they're so secretive, because they kind of know that they're the laughing stock in the NFL. Maybe that's why guys like Taylor has not addressed the media yet and has not been available to the public. At least from what I've seen on Twitter and everything else, I don't think he's been made available to address the media. The last thing they need is players and coaches talking too much and making themselves look worse than they already do.
Warren Sharp of sharpfootballstats.com. Great guy to follow on Twitter if you want insight and analytics on football. Had this earlier after the Texans signed, once again, former Patriots running back Rex Burkhead to a contract. The Texans now have the average age of dead last in the NFL as far as being the oldest team out of 32 teams. As of June 1st, they are 32nd. Last year, they were 22nd. So you look at this team, in theory, you're not going to have Deshaun Watson. J.J. Watt is gone. The move would be, let's get younger. Let's try and sell our fan base on hope. That's what you do. If you're not going to be good, try and sell your fan base on hope. Well, you didn't have a first or a second round pick. You used your first pick in the draft in the third round on a developmental quarterback. We have no idea if he's going to play at what point this year. And you proceeded to sign like 80 different guys in free agency, each one being more mediocre to below average than the next.
Yeah.
You look at this team. I mean, they went from being one of the youngest teams in the NFL, the fourth youngest in 2017, to here we are 5 seasons later. And they're the oldest team in the NFL with arguably the worst roster in the NFL. Like, that, to me, is organizational malpractice. If you're not going to be good, sell your fan base on hope. What's the hope for this football team right
I don't
now?
know. And you know what? I don't know if they're even committed to a lot of these older guys or veterans. Maybe that's the reason why they're signing them, and maybe they want to wait till they get a lot more assets before they go into the developing stages of everything. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. But I don't know how committed they are to these guys anyway, to be honest with you. So you never know what this roster is going to look like next year.
One NFL insider called the Houston Texans a glorified expansion-level team. Is he right? Are the Texans a glorified expansion-level team? We'll talk about that next. He's Nick Sharara. I'm Jake Asman. I'm in for Joel Blank. Here on the Press Box, you're listening to ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.